Tyler and I used to sit on the bed together and say, Mommy's going to dress us.
No, God.
Because she'd have to pick my clothes out too, because I couldn't be trusted to.
Okay, well, we're starting it off weird today.
Are we recording?
Yes, we're recording.
Oh, John, you got to behave ourselves.
Crap.
I'm getting pretty decent at this podcasting thing, all right? I think I figured some stuff out.
That's debatable.
The writers at Hallmark are like, this guy's too plain. What should we do? Kill his wife. That's what we should do, all right? Okay, now we've got some trauma that we're dealing with.
Oh, gosh, what was the name of it? It was Mamma Mia. Mom picked that one out. Oh, man. Watching Pierce Brosnan doing ABBA, I was damaged. Oh, that was awful.
Hey, what's up, guys? Tyler here. Hope you're having a great week. This week, we are talking to our dad. And also next week, we are talking to our dad. We did a long sit down with him, and we're breaking this thing up into two parts. So this week is part one of that conversation. Hope you enjoy it. I'm enjoying the new set here. I think we're very festive today. Thanks to Laura Lee for coming in and dressing everything.
Yeah, some things never change when you're young. Your mother dressed you.
Not like that. Okay, not like that.
Yeah, I know.
Set dressing.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I get
that's an HR violation for sure.
Yeah, Tyler and I used to sit on the bed together and say, Mommy's going to dress us.
No, God.
Because she'd have to pick my clothes out too, because I couldn't be trusted to.
Okay, well, we're starting it off weird today.
Are we recording?
Yes, we're recording.
Oh, John, you got to behave ourselves.
Crap. Can I say crap on your...
Yes, you can say crap on our podcast.
Crap.
We say crap, crappity crap all the time. It's part of our Christian swearing words.
We probably
right?
need to just establish our threshold there. I think we've got some unspokens, but...
Unspoken curse words?
Yeah, unspoken curse threshold.
Go back to the George Carlin words.
Oh, yeah. B-O-M-B. Bomb.
No.
T-O-M-B.
No. You're thinking Gallagher.
No, that was Gallagher. That was Gallagher. Yeah.
No, George Carlin, you have to look up the different ones that the curse words you're not allowed to say on TV. I can't remember them all, but they were all bad.
They were bad.
They were all bad.
They were all bad.
They were all bad.
That Gallagher one, it keeps popping up in my feed lately. And dude, that guy was funny.
Oh, yeah.
That guy was hilarious.
Yeah.
And I don't know, though. It was the Geico commercial where it was like happier than Gallagher at a farmer's market. Like, I freaking love that. And I'm like the only person that's calculating that's my age. And they're like, because I had you two.
You had old parents and older brothers.
Yeah. And it's the only reason I knew who Gallagher was. So
that moment from True Lies where Arnold Schwarzenegger, they ask about, have you killed anybody? Yeah, but they were all bad.
But they were all bad. Yeah.
That came up in conversation.
I just watched that movie again. It's a good, dude. I mean, it holds up. There's
a series.
Really?
There actually is a series, True Lies. Yep.
I think that played in from, I watched Jingle All the Way.
I don't think I've seen that one.
It had Sinbad in it, which I know you got a kick out of Sinbad.
Yeah, Sinbad's awesome.
Yeah,
there's ain't anything more broke than a college kid thing.
Dude, I haven't seen
Stick.
I haven't seen Jingle All the Way. I don't know.
mean, you could watch it.
Okay, well, all right. All right, let's go around.
I have a theory that you can create a Christmas movie and it can be pretty bad. But it's a Christmas movie. And people look around in December for Christmas movies. They're like, hey, we're going to watch Christmas movies. And it'll sneak in.
Yeah.
So like Jingle All the Way still gets seen, whereas there are other Arnold movies that have just kind of bled off into the distance and you don't really see them anymore. That one should have gone that way, but it didn't.
Well, most Hallmark movies should go that way.
They
just never see them again.
Yeah, they bleed off a little more, but they are making 50, 60 of them a year. So
and playing them all over and over and over
with the same
again.
basic plot.
Oh, yeah.
Guy with flannel meets girl from the big city.
Yep.
This is why I'm wearing flannel. So it's Christmassy, right? It's very Christmassy.
Now, the other day, though, Mom was watching one of those movies that this gal goes to this guy's house.
Yeah.
And he's got these two little girls.
Okay.
Two little, and of course, he had British accent.
Of course.
And two little girls with British accents.
Of course.
And I'd seen clips of it on Facebook or somewhere. So I knew what was coming. Mom's starting to watch this. And I said, oh, this he's way ahead of flannel. Yeah, he's got something better than flannel. He's got two little girls,
like widower,
and he was a widower.
He was a widower,
yeah, a widower. So it was like everything was right there. Yeah, so this guy's
my
in
poor
business.
daughters just need a mom.
Yeah.
The writers at Hallmark are like, this guy's too plain. What should we do? Kill his wife. That's what we should do. All right. Okay. Now we've got some trauma that we're dealing with. let's build off of that. All right.
just
There's a
need the
good
right woman to
foundation.
come in
Trauma
and-
is a
yeah.
great foundation for things. Speaking of trauma. All right.
I was
Dad.
going to ask, did you lose a bet with that? I know that's normally how the Hallmark movies come about, where you're actually watching them. It's like y'all bet on a football game or something. You lose a bet and you have to watch a Hallmark movie.
No. The last time I did that, it was, oh gosh, what was the name of it? It was Mamma Mia.
It's like an Ohio State
Mom
game
picked
or
that one
something.
out.
Yeah.
Oh man, watching Pierce Brosnan doing ABBA, I was damaged. Oh, that was awful.
Truly lost bet. Like, I lost that bet.
Yeah.
bad.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You need to check on the wage that you're putting out there for you.
That was
That was
good.
one where Mom said, "Okay, you get to pick," and she said, "Well, I've never seen this one before. Can we try it?"
Fine. Sure.
Oh yeah.
I love you, honey.
Not enough to watch it again. And there was a Mamma Mia too. No way, Jose.
Ain't happening.
Ain't happening.
No.
So, all right. So, just curious here. Christmas movies that you have to see at least once before Christmas happens. Otherwise, it's not Christmas,
Christmas Story,
obviously.
obviously. Christmas Vacation. That's-
Christmas Vacation has become my new one.
I've never seen it.
That was never one. Yeah, because we didn't grow up with that.
I've never seen it.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
It was almost like that Napoleon Dynamite movie where it was so dumb, I just felt IQ points going down as I watch it.
That's fair, but it was funny.
It was funny as
And I
crap.
like Napoleon Dynamite.
I know you did. That's why I brought that up.
Now, hold on a second. Now, you've seen the squirrel scene, though.
No.
And what?
There's so many references that
my
you won't
gosh.
get. I mean,
That movie's the best. That movie's so good. And that's a relatively new, because we didn't grow up on it.
Grace died 40 years ago. That's,
I saw the first one. Just
Grace!
the blessing. See it?
Yeah.
See, you're lost. Everybody else is giggling. That's a great.
Gabe
That's a,
saw it last weekend and got
I'm
a
lost.
special kick out of it. So
I like Scrooged.
I haven't seen that one forever. That's Bill
Oh.
Murray.
I haven't seen that one. I
Oh,
don't
that one's
think
awesome.
ever.
That one is, that's a fun one.
Scrooge is fun. Bob Goldthwait was just hilarious.
See, that's okay. There you go. There's a 90s reference
Bob
for you.
Goldthwait.
80s, really.
Bobcat
Bobcat
Goldthwait.
Goldthwait. He was a
yeah.
comedian.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I recognize the name, but I can't picture him. I feel like this is a cartoon of some sort.
Oh,
isn't
no.
it?
Oh, no.
He was in the Police Academy movies.
Yeah, a
That
couple of
I know.
Yeah,
That one I know.
going way back. Yeah. Going through the Rolodex, like the VHS collection that we had. Like we had the Police Academy movies. You couldn't watch number 1, but you were allowed to watch number 2.
Okay, so Michael Winslow.
Yeah.
You know, he was in Spaceballs and all. He was the dude that did all the voices.
Motormouth.
For, yeah,
Sure. Motormouth Jones and Police Academy.
Motormouth Jones.
Yeah.
Like you would do all that stuff, right?
Yep.
The bleeps, the sweeps, and the creeps.
Yeah, the bleeps, the sweeps, and the creeps. So he went on America's Got Talent, like maybe 2-3 years ago.
That guy was amazing.
But he went under the radar, like raised his family and stuff like that, and then he like came back on like America's Got Talent. I feel like I was like the only person who was like, oh my gosh, it's Michael Winslow. Like knew exactly who he was because I grew up on him.
Yeah.
And he's amazing. Like his stuff still holds up too.
Trying to think of other Christmas movies that are just must-haves.
Daddy's Home. Okay, Daddy's Home 2. It's more Christmassy.
No, I
Never
haven't
heard
seen
of
that.
It's Will Ferrell, so you probably wouldn't like
Santa
it.
I wouldn't
Claus.
watch that anyway.
Yeah, yeah. The Santa Claus, yeah. I tried that one with the kids the other day.
That's like Elf. There's no way you're going to get me to watch that.
Oh,
come on.
Elf is one of the movies that definitely gets watched.
Oh,
that was one of the first ones.
I know it is. Oh, gosh.
I love it so much. That movie's amazing.
The new Travis Kelce thing where, when he walks in, he's like wheeling around. He's like, I'm in love. And I don't care. Who knows? Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
You haven't?
I haven't seen that.
They
no.
memed that for Travis Kelce because of Taylor Swift. It's pretty much
Golly,
hilarious.
are we hopping on that bandwagon now? Are we trying to get mileage
No.
off of this relationship?
No.
You brought up Travis Kelce here.
I brought up the meme.
You brought up the meme.
I brought
which
up the Will
included,
Ferrell meme.
which included.
And we can move on. That's fine.
Okay, that's
so what
fine.
other movies do you know?
Yeah. Well, no.
Or have we worn this completely
I think
out?
we've worn it out, and we need to move on to some other emotional damages and things. We talked about how Hallmark movies build their foundation on trauma. All right. ABSI, the company that you started, I feel is also built off of trauma. So can you kind of give us some insight into...
Well, that was a heck of a segue.
Thank you.
Nice transition.
Wow.
Jeez.
Had to have good transitions, right?
Hey, man.
Good transition.
I'm getting pretty decent at this podcasting thing. All right. I think I figured some stuff out.
It's debatable. But the question remains.
What was the question?
Well, okay, so we had to go back and watch our own podcast to determine why we were bringing you back on. And as it turns out, we left this open end to the last episode about how, you got kind of to this point in your career where you're starting to realize that there's a bit of brokenness in the contracting industry. So I feel like we went over a lot of your young career last time we talked.
We need to bring in the
Middle Ages.
Teamwork and all of this stuff. But
it's a Festivus for the rest of us is basically what we're doing. This is the airing of grievances episode.
this is the airing of the grievances.
All right.
Yeah,
So let's get into it.
Seinfeld.
You don't know that one either, do
And
you?
no.
Dang
No,
it.
I never watched Seinfeld either. I didn't find him funny.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Jerry that did that one. It was. Jerry Stiller, Ben Stiller's dad.
Ben Stiller's dad.
Right.
Now, he's hilarious. He's funny. Anyway, airing of grievances. So you found some brokenness in the construction industry.
Well, yeah, I had. I guess it pretty much started on a project in Florida that it was a 5-story office building that was a tilt-up structure.
Okay.
So 5 stories of tilt-up, and we did our own tilt, the company I was with. We the design went on for a while. We priced it out against several other larger firms. We were the small one. But we had priced it out against a bunch of other large firms and ended up getting the award for $13 million. Okay. Now, the design was not done. It had been ongoing while we were pricing it. It was a good-sized architect, a large engineer, very recognizable name. And there was a lot of the design was very complicated, and a lot of it was not done because when I say 5-story tilt up, it was 4 floors of panels, and then the 5th floor stepped in. There was a balcony that ran around this, and the building was a little bit triangular in shape, especially at the front. So there was nothing real easy about the project.
Yeah.
We couldn't, it was a tight enough site that we ended up redesigning the panels to be basically site cast precast. We were stacking panels on top of each other, and obviously the bottom floor was the top panel. And which was also interesting because all of the openings at the bottom floor had arched tops. So we had some really funky design. The building's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. Eddie and I have been there, and
I remember visiting it too one time.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Well,
It's changed hands 3 times.
It was modeled after the Hemingway house, right?
Yes.
So it's got that kind of architectural look. And then I guess we can mention TSI, Tropical Sports Center.
Yeah, they're no longer
a thing.
around.
And so this was their headquarters. They owned the Duck Head.
Duck Head, and I had 2 or 3 other lines.
Haggard. I remember Haggard.
I think Haggard was one of them. They
like
owned all
big
these.
90s clothes.
They were a sportswear company.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then so the owner at the time's like this very patriotic sort. So you had that dome in the main atrium area.
Well, there were a lot of things that the design wasn't complete
Right.
as we went into it. And I think they actually selected us over some larger contractors that were lower than us price-wise. And the main reason they did is because they knew they could push us around a lot more than the big guys. They had an absolutely insane schedule. We were cut loose and had to build this building start to finish, and it was highly finished inside. 4 elevators, and a 5-story atrium with a dome in the top, and I'll describe that here in a little bit. But it was a very complicated structure, and that's what got me kind of steered towards where we are today, or where we tried to get anyway. The structural steel was, as we usually have a problem with the engineers not completing their design and doing the connections. Well, this was a great case of it. And it's my understanding that the engineer made $60,000 for his design, and the detailer made $180,000 for his design or for his
work.
work.
Yeah.
And then he held the job hostage for another 40 in change orders. Because every time we got an RFI, there was a change order associated with it, and it was just crazy. And he ended up having to hold up the job, and we had to have the owner pony up. There was another $21,000 just to get this guy to release all the drawings.
Wow.
So it was nuts. That was one aspect. The other aspect of it was the glass and glazing. We had a segmented, it was curved, but it wasn't truly curved glass. It was segmented atrium that was 5 stories tall in the front. Well, glass and glazing shop drawings. We ended up with everything that was complex held up the schedule. All of the shop drawings were on the critical path. There was nothing we could do about it. And all this is supposed to be built in 9 months, start to finish. And then to add to that, like I said, we started out with a $13 million contract. As soon as we signed the contract, we ended up having $2 million in changes that were in additive changes, where they wanted certain kinds of marble in the atrium, certain kinds of floor. The dome was something in itself. It was not designed. The architect and the engineer had no idea what to do with it. They just knew that they wanted this dome at the top of the atrium, and it has 5,000 fiber optics holes, stars in it. That were the exact, they were the sky over Washington, D.C. on July 4th, 1776, the exact constellation. All these holes had to be drilled into something that you not only had to have the ability to put the fiber optics in, but the people who were putting them in had to be able to get in there.
Right.
So, and that was essentially designed by me and a guy that did fiberglass. That we decided, okay, fiberglass seemed to be the only way. So I ended up at this guy's shop, and we went through how to segment and put this thing together, which we did on the floor. We shipped them out one piece at a time. Had to be a special shipment because this thing was big enough that even the pie shapes were too big to ship normal. Brought them out, assembled them. We had included an extra roof opening just for the hoisting because we lowered the crane down through and hoisted this thing through the roof, brought it up, and then it was secured with aircraft cable, and then everything put together. And then that opening in the roof was used for the fiber optic guy to get down in there and do his thing. Those are complexities going on while in my case, I'm the only project manager. I had 2 superintendents, and I'd also been the estimator on the job. So I was with this one cradle to grave. But had 2 superintendents, both of them terrific. They were both tilt-up guys. They both, and had finish experience as well. But they checked all my shop drawings. Had to. There was no way with all the other stuff going on that I could keep up with any of that. So I had very, very little, if any, input into the shop drawing process, but other than to just see the extra bills coming in, and also looking at my schedule slipping and slipping and slipping because of the submittal process. And that's when it occurred to me, this is nuts. All of this work should have been done in that 4 or 5 month period that they were doing the design. There should have been glass shop drawings going right then and there. There should have been structural steel shop drawings going right then and there that would have taken those things off of our critical path. And it wasn't done. And that's where I got the idea to do the detailing, not just steel. Steel ended up being our first thing, but not just steel, but also glass and glazing and rebar. And because we had shop drawings for those too with our panels. And the more we massaged the design, the more, the rebar changed. Plus, when you've got openings that are arched and you're stacking the panels and all the other complexities that went along with that, it was crazy. It was fun, but it was crazy. And it pretty well led me into, I left that company at the very end of that job and started ABSI. Had actually already incorporated and was ready to go. And I'd already let them know that I was leaving. And they let me know I was welcome to leave. So.
Yeah. This is 2001, 2002.
It was 2002 because we had a celebration on 9/11/02, and I have the picture somewhere where the front of the building where the atrium glass was going to be, we had an American flag draped down, and it was supposedly the largest flag that you could legally buy. And it was draped down the front of the building, and then all the workers were scattered around on the floors waving, and they took a picture for 9/11/02. The owner, the CEO, was just extremely, extremely patriotic. Not only with that, at the base of the atrium, we had a flagpole. And he had commissioned a sculptor to have several sculptures done. One was the 9/11 firemen. He'd actually commissioned them and had gone up and got permission signed by the guy that took that picture to have that done into a sculpture that he was going to put in the atrium. He also had George Washington kneeling at his horse at the base of the flagpole. And all this was supposed to be gotten in there. Well, we weren't even sure how we were going to get George in the building because he was not even going to arrive for another year. So we were going to actually have to come back out there and take out a section of the curtain wall in the front to get George and his horse in the building. In addition to that, the flagpole had a flag and he wanted it to fly. He wanted that flag to blow and look realistic. Well, okay. So you can do that with wind, and you're in an atrium of an office building. So if you're shooting wind across this atrium, some gal's wig's going to blow off down into the atrium. And we tried to figure out a way of doing it mechanically. They actually, we bought a flag. I think I still have it.
I remember you bringing that home.
It's a big joker.
Big flag.
It's a big one that I brought home to try to do some experimenting with how to make that thing look like it's actually waving and looking somewhat realistic. Never happened. Never happened. In fact, the flagpole didn't happen. George didn't happen. The fireman didn't happen because their stock had gone from, I don't know, $8 up to $30. And it was just awesome times. But then all of a sudden, guess what happened? Down she goes.
Yep.
He had commissioned one of his people had gone down to West Palm Beach, and he'd bought a 1940 something Cadillac convertible, and was parking it in the porte cochere as artwork. That was his only function, was to be artwork for the building.
Yeah.
mean, the ideas were just nuts. Well, then the fun began when the board came together and fired the CEO. And then we had to figure out how to get a couple $1 million out of the job while things were still going. So orders were getting canceled, marble in the elevator shafts and all these other things. So, oh man, what a circus.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the building's gorgeous. It's absolutely the prettiest building I've ever been associated with. It's changed hands 3 times because TSI went out of business. They sold to another company and then they went out of business. And right now I think it's owned by a college.
Golly.
Yeah, the last time we were down there, I want to say that was the case.
Yeah, it's an online school.
We
but
took
they have
a walk around it. It's something else, man. I'm thoroughly impressed. And I had been hearing stories about this for years and years because this was, it was kind of where ABSI was born, really the ideas of it.
The ideas.
First encounter with Tekla was through the shop drawing process of that. Yeah. And I mean, really the exposure to BIM for the first time. Because you think in 2002, man, BIM wasn't, we didn't say BIM.
That wasn't really.
I'd never heard of it.
It was 3D maybe, or like a 3D model. That was a thing you could talk about, but that wasn't something that was prevalent in the industry. When we're 2005, I remember looking at stats and it was like under 10% of the detailing industry was actually using 3D for anything.
It really was in its infancy. I think I found out about Tekla from another steel fabricator, not the one that we used on that job, but an old friend from the early 80s. Ran into him and he told me about this software because I started looking at software early on. There were 3 or 4 different packages I was looking at. SDS2 was one of them. And I settled on looking at Tekla mainly because although they didn't have concrete in at the time, if you modeled a footing, you remember you had to model a steel plate. Yeah, right. And, heaven forbid you would include that in a bill of materials, an advanced bill. A steel plate that's, 9 by 9 by 2 foot thick. Yep. You had a lot of weight. But they were promising concrete where SDS2 was more of a steel fabricator only. Good software, but just steel fabrication. Yeah. So the real kick was when we were at Kennesaw for your ball games, one of your ball games in your senior year of college, and Mom and Dad came down to watch Eddie play ball. And I made the appointment to go over to Tekla's office there in Kennesaw while we were there, and I took Pop with me. And oh my gosh, doing the demo, and the guy was talking about how, flying this around and that around, and Pop just kept shaking his head and going, oh, if I'd had that on this job, we could have done this and this. And then, oh, if I'd had that on this job, he was going off about it. So it made me a believer that, hey, I was on to something. That to be a steel detailer or a rebar detailer, not a chance I would have ever gone into it. No chance. I'm not the kind, I'm not the kind of to sit behind a desk and draw, whether it's on AutoCAD or hand drawing. I'm not going to do that. This was different. I was building a building or a structure on screen. So I was still doing what I love to do and then generating drawings out of that building. So I had to get the building right. And it's even become more and more important that we get things right in that model than it was even back then.
Yeah, the robotiks are now.
Oh, yeah, we could cheat, and we did.
Yeah.
I mean, we cheated like crazy on things because you could just take and, fudge a drawing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things about SDS that, again, I'm not dissing them, but one of the things I didn't like about them was that you could modify your drawings without modifying the model. Tekla wasn't like that. The drawings were totally model-based. So if I didn't change the model, the drawings didn't change. So it kind of forced us to do those things. And
yeah, I remember early on it was a burn the ships mentality because nothing was ever done in AutoCAD. Mm-hmm. Now, there wasn't really any previous AutoCAD experience because that's just not the realms we came out of. Like you knew CAD. You had taken the class.
Yeah,
before.
I'd actually taken the classes.
But it just wasn't this thing like, we didn't go back to that as a crutch because it just wasn't enough of a known to us. So it really forced our hand to learn
No, I actually deleted it from my PC.
Yeah, that was the burn the ships moment, was like, it's not even on the computer. You got to figure out how to do it in Tekla. You're not going to be able to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting how, looking back, a lot of these things we talk about, these lessons learned, they were forged in fire. They came out of a job that could have seen a lot of immense benefit from it. And that became obvious. And then it was like, let's move forward into this and let's try. And there's been a lot of trying. It's disappointing to me, since this is the airing of the grievances. It's disappointing to me looking at where we're at as an industry today, because I honestly, 2003, the company starts. 2005, I get involved, like very first part of 2005. I would have thought by now, we'd be light years beyond where we are. I know a lot of people look back at 2013 as kind of like this hinge point where BIM became BIM and everybody started using it. We've already been there 10 years.
Right.
And we're tapping our foot going, come on, people, like, why is this such a deal? And why can't we get, and there was some hardware stuff that was catching up. There's some software stuff that was catching up. I mean, Tekla, SDS2, Revit, you name it, they're better softwares now than they were then for certain.
Light years.
Yeah.
Light years better.
And then the computers that we have are much more able to run what we can throw at it. Because you throw a lot of information at it. So there are some things that needed to develop, but it was one of those where, maybe it's the Jetsons moment. You think you're going to be flying around in cars by the year 2023, but
well, yeah, you can go back and look at Lost in Space. That was, those people were lost in space in the year 1998.
Yeah, and
true. Yeah,
we project forward based on
look at Back to the Future.
Yeah,
Back to the Future is a great example. We're past that point now.
Right.
Where's my pizza anyway? Like, where's
gonna hydrate it?
Rehydrate my pizza.
Rehydrated pizza. It's just. I thought we would progress at a much faster clip.
Why have we not then? Like, let's kind of dig into that then. What are some of the issues and things that have caused us to not be able to progress to that point?
Well, when I started, we actually named the company on a road trip up to watch you play ball a different time. Mom and I were in the car and we came up with Accelerated Building Solutions as just kind of that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to do something that would actually help the industry get to that end point quicker. And in any schedule, if you want to crunch the schedule, you focus on the critical path. Well, since the shop drawing process was on the critical path of virtually every job I'd ever done, that was the first place to focus. So when I started ABSI, the first thing was to go after structural steel, but only because that was the only thing I could get. I could get some fabricators to talk to me, although the guy that recommended Tekla to me, when I called him, he said, oh, no, you're going to get your experience on somebody else's dime, not mine. So, I couldn't even work for him. So I ended up working for some pretty low-end fabricators. And trying to, rebar wasn't an option then. But I also sent out faxes at the time. Email was there, but it was mostly fax. I sent out a standard fax to probably 100 different GCs between Florida and Georgia. The title was Detailing During Design. And then the advantages, the little bullet thing of advantages for doing that. And man, it was crickets chirping. I actually called a guy at a good size GC one time in their estimating department. And his response was, why would we want to do that? Go ask your project managers, your superintendents.
Yeah.
On that job, on the tropical job, we had foundations in and we sat and waited for 2 weeks for steel to arrive. 2 weeks after the foundations are sitting there ready to go. Pretty sure the shop drawing process was the reason that we were sitting there. Mm-hmm. And then the glass and glazing, obviously, what's that hold up? Finishes. Getting everything turned on inside. And a 5-story atrium being wide open, basically this giant gaping hole in the front of the building to let weather in Florida. Mm-hmm. So, it made a lot of sense, but I got absolutely no response out of anybody. So that we ended up making our living, which we had to do. We had to make our living off of steel fabricators.
Yeah.
You wonder, you ask, and my answer to your question is like industry obstinance. I think we're slow to change, slow to adapt, slow to adopt. But I think there's a reason for it. And
Why is that? Like, is it because it's not going to happen? Like, if it goes south, I don't want it to be on my resume. Like, I don't want to have that mark.
Well, I'll say a reason. I think there's a million reasons for it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But risk aversion is something we're trained in.
Yeah.
And we can throw that stone. Just be like, well, you're scared.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we get scared for reasons. Because, if you're the one that has the bright new idea and you go try it and it goes south, it don't go so well. Mm-hmm. Who's the tip of the spear? Who's the one buying this?
Yeah.
Is the estimator doing that? Estimators don't slow down and look at things like that most of the time. They're trying to put an estimate together, and they're trying to do that without getting into the weeds of every single trade, because if they do, they'll never finish. Mm-hmm. So they've got to take some things for granted. They've got to make some assumptions. They've got to allow those assumptions to be like, well, industry standards. So you'd look for like some flagship processes to start paving the way for this. Mm-hmm. And we've had them. We've had some jobs that have adopted that, but I think there is a genuine fear that comes with trying to do something new, because if it goes bad, that can be millions of dollars.
Right.
It really can be a large hole that creates. And if you're the one that's, late 20s, early 30s PM, and you're the one that makes that call, you're kind of hanging your hat on that and hope it works.
So let's shut her down, guys. Dad, thanks for coming back.
No problem.